Of all the faces on the planet, and every smile that had ever graced them, I could stare at hers forever. It was a California winter, no different than any other. I sat at my desk diligently working through my shelf full of orders. A stack of VHS tapes to convert to DVDs, reels of old Super 8 film that needs to be captured into ProRes files, a folder full of old family photos that needs to be turned into a slideshow set to Nora Jones. As I worked on restoring an old damaged photograph, my boss came in carrying several large shoe boxes full of pictures that needed to be scanned. Part of a big order that dropped off at the Hayward location that they needed help finishing. After my boss drives off, I open the first box and get to work. On an overcast afternoon full of gloom and grime, this was a ray of sunshine. Each picture was of the same girl, and she was beyond beautiful. Brunette, hazel eyes, 34 Ds. But the most alluring thing about her wasn't her bust size. It was her smile. I watched her life unfold seemingly before my eyes. Homecoming and cheerleading championships, prom queen and student body president, high school graduation, college graduation, spring break and summers abroad. Her trips to New York, Stonehenge, and Paris. She actually got to live the life our generation was promised. And through it all, in every picture, that intoxicating smile, punctuated by those hazel eyes staring back at me. My heart swelled with attraction until I came across one photo in particular. Her female friend giving her a friendly kiss on the lips. Cute, I thought to myself, as I moved on to the next image. There was that same friend now, full on making out with her. Holy shit! I said out loud as my heart beat out of my chest. And that wasn't the only image like that either. Party pictures and sleepovers all full of girl-on-girl action that got more and more provocative the further I progressed. I had hit the holy grail. I made it to her bi-curious experimental phase. Every girl has one, and hers was documented. What was the harm? When you really think about it, all digital files are really just zeros and ones. So what would the harm be in copying a few of those zeros and ones for myself? Every time I came across a provocative picture that got my blood pumping, I'd make a copy for myself in a separate folder. After a few days, my separate folder alone had grown to over 100 images of this beautiful woman caught behaving badly. I even thought about having a few printed and framed for my desk at home. There was one image in particular of her in her bra and panties, on top of another woman making out while her friend was undoing the clasps on her bra as a room full of partygoers watched and drank. Eventually, my exuberance faded as I realized I was almost done with her boxes of photographs. I was reaching the end, and soon I would never see her face again. I could feel myself becoming morose at the mere thought of her being absent from my life. I needed more. Who was she? I had to know. She graduated class of 2002, so she's 3 years older than me. She went to UC Davis, so she grew up about 25 miles from where I did. The name on the invoice was Caroline, but on her 22nd birthday cake was emblazoned the name everyone called her, Cari. Now, what is stalking really? In this day and age with social media, isn't everyone technically stalking everyone else? Is perusing through her online profiles really all that bad? I don't think so. She was easy enough to find on Facebook. The first thing that caught my eye is how she's just as beautiful as ever, and that smile makes my heart swell. Let's see. She lives in Fremont, works in Walnut Creek as a marital and parental lawyer. Never married. Wonder if she ever grew out of that lesbian phase. I see the bright green button for sending a friend request, and for a moment, a lapse in judgment causes me to click it. I immediately regret my decision, but I decide to see how it plays out. Maybe she's one of those people who collects internet friends and will just blindly accept my request. She doesn't. I check out her page again the following day and see she's deleted my request without hesitation. I wonder if she checked out my profile at all. I quickly realized that if she did, she would see that I work at the same place that's digitizing her old photos. I admit that seems a little weird and possibly creepy in hindsight. I start to worry that she might say something to my boss about it, and who will then in turn question me about it. I start to think of a cover story. After 2 hours, the best I can come up with is, she looked really familiar and I couldn't remember where I knew her from, so I sent her that friend request on the off chance that she remembered me. As soon as I said it out loud, I knew he'd never buy it. My story had more holes in it than the plot to a Transformers movie. But mercifully, he never mentioned anything in the days to come. A sigh of relief exited my lungs as I knew I was in the clear. But I still had that yearning to find her. That's when I had my next lapse in judgment. I found her on LinkedIn and saw her work history. This woman was an accomplished law professional who started her own firm a few years after graduating college. It even had the address of her office in Walnut Creek listed. Now that lapse in judgment I mentioned earlier, it wasn't when I began thinking of how I could meet her in person. The idea of posing as someone about to pop the question and wanting a consultation on prenuptial agreements? No, the lapse was in forgetting that LinkedIn alerts you when someone views your profile. I can only imagine how it must look on her end. A stranger who happens to work at the same place that's digitizing your old photos sends you a friend request, and after you reject it, he then checks out your LinkedIn? This definitely looks like stalking. Again, panic sets in as I worry about her mentioning this to my boss. Once again, nothing ever comes of it. Before I could breathe my second sigh of relief, however, my Facebook chimes with a new message. 4 words that are forever engraved in my vision. Do I know you? Fuck! What do I do? Oh shit, I clicked on it. Now she knows I've seen it. If I don't say anything quick, she's gonna think I'm some kind of crazy weirdo stalker. Fuck! Think of something quick. I'm working on your photos and had a quick question about your order. No, that's stupid. Why wouldn't I just call her? Her number is in the invoice. Did you know? Let me see her friends list. Megan, that's it. Did you know Megan? No, that's even dumber, because how do I know Megan in this scenario? I could always do the whole, I'm Brian's friend trick, since everyone knows that Brian is usually a cool dude. But then, why would I look at her LinkedIn? Oh God, I'm taking too long. Okay, honesty. Honesty is the best policy, isn't that what people say? Okay, here goes. Hi, I'm one of the people working on your order, and I've been getting this weird feeling of deja vu when I go through your pictures, like I've met you somewhere before, but I haven't been able to figure out from where. Not sure if we chatted up at City Beach or if we were in line together at a Switchfoot concert or something. I could just end up being mistaken, but I can't shake how familiar you look. There. Plausible. And at least part of that is true. I am one of the people working on her order. Maybe she'll buy it. Oh God, she's typing. This was a mistake. Those 3 bouncing dots are going to be the architect of my demise. Oh God. The new message chime causes me to look away in panic. This was it. I've never felt dread like this before. I take a moment before mustering up the courage to look at her response. Oh, I'm sorry, but I don't think we've met before. Relief? I guess. I don't know how I should feel. She bought it, so that's a plus. But I still feel this sense of unacceptance. What did I expect? Obviously, she wouldn't remember someone she's never met before. I should count my blessings that this didn't turn out worse. Oh, okay. Sorry to bother you then. There, done. Now time to move on. Put this whole incident behind me. Time to forget about her perfect smile, glowing eyes, and let this momentary detour from my mundane existence come to its climax. Once again, those 3 bouncing dots appear, or as I've come to know them, the harbingers of dread. It's no bother. To be honest, I'd probably do the same thing. With those words, I suddenly don't feel like some kind of social outcast. She would probably do the same thing. That revelation is comforting. Most would dismiss my attempts at contact as creepy, but she reacted with understanding. Once again, the harbingers appear on my screen as they usher in another response from this current object of my affections. When do you think my order will be ready? Oh, that's an easy one. I don't even have to bend the truth to answer that. I only have about 50 or so pictures left to scan. so it should be ready by tomorrow afternoon. I just finished the batch of spring break photos and just have the graduation ones left. Oh God, I forgot the spring break photos were in there. That's embarrassing. And there it is, my moment. The chance to show her the same understanding she showed me just moments ago. I wouldn't worry about it if I were you. Everyone gets a little wild in college. Besides, I've seen way more lewd things from other customers. Your pictures were pretty tame, actually. Well, that's a relief, I guess. It was nice talking to you. Should I expect a call once my order is ready, or would it be better if I just come in? We'll give you a call once everything is ready. Okay, thanks. And just like that, she was gone. That went better than I expected given the circumstances. Not a bad little conversation, actually, all things considered. I returned to her photos and spent the rest of the afternoon transfixed by the moments of delight captured on these 4x6 pieces of archival paper. As I reached the end, I noticed one photo underneath the rest. It was a duplicate of one I had scanned already. Knowing that my time with these pictures was coming to an end, I thought to myself, what's the harm? I tucked the photo into the cover of the book I was reading to keep as a memento, a souvenir of the face that I could sculpt from memory alone after this. The next day, my boss carried away the boxes of pictures back to Hayward for her to pick up. For the next few days, I felt lost, drifting from one task to the next without any real purpose. Periodically, I would open the folder I had saved for myself and admire the pictures I had kept. I started to think about the exchange we had. I wondered if there was anything that I could have said to interest her in continuing our conversation past the formalities. Maybe something smooth and charming. I'm sorry, but I don't think we've met before. Are you sure? I can never forget a smile as intoxicating as yours. On second thought, never mind. That would have most likely made things worse. I tried to move on, but my thoughts kept coming back to her. I couldn't shake the emptiness I felt. It was as if I had spent my life living in darkness and someone showed me a warm summer's day. How could I go back to my bleak existence after seeing her? That night I didn't go straight home. I just drove around aimlessly, alone with my thoughts. I needed to take my mind off these feelings I was having. I pulled off the freeway into downtown Walnut Creek and grabbed some ice cream from one of my favorite spots. I just walked around town for what seemed like hours, just talking out loud to myself, desperate to get the thoughts out as fast as they were coming to me. This is crazy. Why am I obsessing over a girl I've never met? I sound like some kind of freak. Let it go, move on. It was then I noticed a familiar sight, her name plastered across the door of an office. That's right. She does work out here. In my aimless wandering, I was drawn to her as if we were two old souls destined to connect. The next day at work, I sat anxious for the day to end. Each second that passed felt like a lifetime spent waiting. Finally, relief came. As I locked up and raced to my car, I drove with a purpose. Not home, no. I drove to her office, the hope that I might catch a glimpse of her. I found a spot across from her job and sat patiently waiting. Her light was on, but I couldn't see anything through the curtains. Unlike the seconds passing at work, I could sit here forever, bathing in the anticipation. Her light clicked off, and a moment later, there she was emerging from her office. She locked up and headed straight for her car. Even now, in this mundane moment, she was every bit as beautiful as any of God's most revered creatures. She got in her car, started the engine, and left. I could barely contain my excitement and almost leapt for joy. I saw her, actually got to see her. This became my nightly ritual. After work, I would drive straight to her office and watch her leave. I never approached her. I never even got out of my car, but seeing her in those fleeting moments was enough to satisfy my thirst for her. I would imagine how her day went based on her body language. I fantasized about how amazing it would be to come home to that smile every day. I could only imagine how weird this must look, me sitting in my car night after night patiently waiting to catch a glimpse of this woman I've never officially met. Was this stalking? Stalking is such a gray term. Up till now, I've used that as a crutch, but this, parked here for no reason other than to see this person from afar without their knowledge, this was becoming much less gray. I sat at my desk performing my usual routine as I restlessly watched the clock count down. My boss showed up like he does every day, but this day he uttered the words that I hoped he would never utter. "Do you remember that Hayward customer care line?" Shit! This is what I was afraid of. She said something to him. This is bad. This is real bad. I try to play it off and hope my terror is invisible. "Oh, the one with the box of photos? What about her?" This is it. Better start updating my resume because he's definitely going to fire me over my questionable actions as of late. "She dropped these off when she picked up her order. Can you put them on a flash drive for her?" He hands me a stack of zip disks. My pulse is still pounding as I grab them from him, but I can feel relief on the way. I'm in the clear. She didn't say anything to him about my recent actions. Maybe I should count my blessings and end this, whatever this is, before things get out of hand. I might not be this lucky next time. I dig up my old zip drive and hook it up. I pop in one of her disks and can hear the familiar clicking of the mechanism as it reads the data. Finally, her disk mounts on my desktop and I can get to work. It's a bunch of old documents from when she was in college. Essays, term papers, even some speeches. I try to remain objective and impartial as I copy them, but once again my curiosity got the best of me. I know so much about her, but I've never heard her speak apart from our brief encounter online. I've never heard her voice, her real voice, her beliefs and opinions, the things that make her unique. I copy Speech Doc 1 to the folder I had set aside for myself and decide to read it later as I wait for her to get off work. As I sat in my car that night, phone in hand, her speech displayed on the screen, I found myself hesitating to read it. What if she's not who I think she is? What if the unrealistic expectations I have set for myself aren't met? Her light is still on. She's working late again. That's so like her to burn the midnight oil like this. Look at me talking like I know her. I mean, in a way I do, but only on a superficial level. I know events and actions, but not the meaning behind them. Finally, I decide to look down and read. Day after day he sits, waiting. It's funny how a few seconds can mean the world to someone. He waits with his bated breath, his eyes darting from one pair of sneakers to the next, waiting for the one thing in this world that makes his life simple. That's when he hears it, that familiar sound, the sound of a very distinct pair of heels clicking against the pavement as they move closer and closer. This will be the day, he tells himself. This will be the day I decide to be bold and take action. He musters the courage to look up at the face of an angel passing him by. She smiles at him, and for a moment he feels invincible. A moment that quickly passes as soon as he tries to speak. Another day wasted as she passes him by. She walks the same way every day, the lonely girl with her boring smile and her boring life. Every day dreaming of something more, every day walking home the same way in the hopes that he will notice her. Every day crushed when he won't even say hello, and yet every day she tries again, never losing hope that one day things will be different. The heart doesn't know about reason, promises, or complication. It only knows what it wants, and sometimes our heart's innermost, deepest wants are the things we don't think we should go for. We overthink and overassume the worst when the truth of the matter is that our heart's desires are the simplest things in the world. Wow. I'm at a loss for words. Not only is she beautiful, but she perfectly encapsulated everything I've been feeling ever since this whole thing began. Reason has been battling feelings for weeks now with no clear winner in sight. And this woman, who I feel both close to and distant from, has eloquently spun a web of words which has wrapped me like a blanket. Finally, her light clicks off. It's late, almost 2 hours past her closing time. The usual pep and energy is missing from her step. She seems morose, downtrodden. I've never seen her like this. To be honest, it's unsettling. She gets in her car, but doesn't start the engine right away. I grab my binoculars and take a closer look. There she is, slumped over the steering wheel, crying. It breaks my heart to see her like this. Normally, she's so full of life, excreting joy everywhere she goes. What happened? What could be wrong? Finally, she starts her car and pulls out from the curb. I too start my car. I consider my next action very carefully. The smart and logical thing to do would be to go home. But like she said, the heart's desires are probably the most simplest things there are. So I follow. Now, can this really be considered stalking? I think it's more along the lines of escorting her home like a guardian angel. After all, there are some real sickos out there. A girl can never be too careful. I keep my distance. I don't want to scare her. We make it all the way home without her noticing me. She pulls into the driveway but doesn't exit right away. I don't need my binoculars to see that she's composing herself. The lights inside are off and there is no other car parked. It doesn't take a genius to see she's coming home to an empty house. She finally goes inside and I sit in my car frozen. What now? She made it home okay. I should leave before this gets weird. But all the while her words ring in my head. The lonely boy and the lonely girl both wanting the other but both too afraid to do anything about it for fear of what could go wrong. Those words, those thoughts came from her, which means at some point she felt exactly what I'm feeling right now. I'm tired of living in fear. My whole life I've been afraid of what ifs and the could be's. It's time to be bold. She clearly needs a shoulder to cry on. And lucky for her, I've got two. I take a deep breath, approach the front door. My knees shake with anxiety as they carry me to her. Boldly, I knock at the door. I can hear her footsteps approaching, and for a moment, I contemplate running. But that moment quickly passes as I let whatever confidence I have come to the surface. The door begins to open, and the moment I have both dreamed of and dreaded approaches. And of course, I don't think of anything to say. "Can I help you?" she says as the chain lock prevents the door from opening more than a few inches. Her voice resonates like that of a gospel singing angel. I reply with the first thing that comes to mind. "Cari?" "Caroline, who are you? Sorry, I know how this must seem. We talked last week regarding your order." "My order?" "Yes, the photos you had scanned." "My photos? What is this about? What are you doing here? How do you even know where I live?" This is going to sound odd and borderline crazy, but please hear me out. When I was going through your pictures, I was overwhelmed by how beautiful you are. Your smile literally is like a ray of sunshine brightening up the world. And the more pictures I went through, the more I knew I just had to meet you and introduce myself. If you let me, I'd love to take you out for coffee sometime. Okay, short, sweet, to the point. I honestly don't think I could have worded that any better. I tried to read the look on her face as she processed the information. I didn't need to wait long for a response. She slammed the door in my face. I acted without thinking and grabbed the door handle before she could lock it, putting my weight into the door to prevent the deadbolt from catching. "Cari, listen. I know this looks crazy. I agree with what you said. The heart doesn't know about reason, promises, or complications. It only knows what it wants, and sometimes your heart's innermost, deepest wants are the things we don't think we should go for." "What are you talking about? Your speech in comms senior year, that's how you opened it. You told the story of the shy boy and the bench and the girl he was too scared to talk to. It was beautiful and perfect and everything you are. I think we could be wonderful together despite the awkward first meeting. Please, Cari, just give me a chance." "Stop calling me that. I don't even know you, weirdo." "But that's just it. I know you. You were homecoming queen and cheerleading champion. You love Harry Potter. You got to visit Paris and Stonehenge after college. Yet despite this amazing life, you never married and now come home to an empty house. I would make sure you were always treated like the incredible person you are. Just please give me a chance." My words fell on deaf ears. She's already dialing the police on her cell phone. 911, I have an intruder trying to break into my house. "I'm not trying to hurt you, Cari. I just want to take you out for coffee." She backs away from the door and retreats into the rest of the house. This isn't going at all like I hoped it would. Then again, I'm not sure how I expected this to turn out in hindsight. A sudden creak alerts me. that my weight on the door might be too much for the little lock chain to handle. It snaps under the pressure and I stumble into the foyer. I should turn and run, never look back, but she already knows who I am thanks to the Facebook conversation. No matter what I do now, there's no escaping these ramifications. I take a few steps and peer around the corner. Cari? I think we got off on the wrong foot. Can we start over? She screams and drops her cell phone. She runs to the kitchen and grabs a knife. Holding it out, she addresses me sternly. Get out of my house, psycho! I raise my hands to show her that I mean her no harm. I'm not gonna hurt you. This whole thing has gotten way out of hand. Look, my name is Dylan, and I'm harmless. I've never done anything like this before, but reading your speech gave me the courage to do something bold and follow my heart for once. Please, Cari, just put the knife down and stop calling me Cari! Okay, Caroline, let's just calm down. And I reach out to try and take the knife from her, but she lunges at me. Get away from me! I grab her and manage to restrain her despite her struggling. Holding her like this is tranquil. Her skin is soft and flawless as porcelain. She smells of lilacs and fresh strawberries. I squeeze her tightly, forcing her to expel more energy as she tries to get away. Hopefully, it tires her out soon, and we can talk like two reasonable adults about this. You know, most women search their entire lives trying to find someone half as infatuated with them as I am with you. All you have to do is let me in your life and watch it bloom like fresh orchids. I have a feeling we're gonna laugh about this one day. You're sick! I'd rather die, you fucking stalker! Get off me! Cari, stop calling me that! Help! Help! Somebody help! She rejected me. Point blank. She never even contemplated the idea of giving me a chance. This vessel of hope and understanding has refused me and left me alone in the cold. My heart sinks. There's no way to fix this, is there? I can hear the sirens approaching. The neighbors have probably already been alerted by her screams. Any minute now, we'll be flooded by law enforcement who will separate us, and I'll never be able to see her again. I really messed this up. What was I thinking? I hold back tears, pondering the thought of never being able to glimpse her smile again. Regretfully, I place my hand on hers. It didn't have to be this way. We could have been wonderful. With tears in my eyes, I force the knife into her sternum. Her elegant hazel eyes widen, and her angelic voice fades to silence. I slowly and gently lower her to the ground, quietly comforting her along the way. I watch as she breathes her final breath, her lungs quickly filling with blood. As her eyes slowly glaze over, I realize that I was the last person those eyes would ever behold. Just as her face was forever burned into my memory, mine was now inscribed in hers. We finally had our intimate moment, as I was the only one who would share this final instant with her. Her body went limp in my arms, and whatever soul she might have departed this mortal coil. I savored this moment, shared between just the two of us, a moment that was private and perfect, and in a word, beautiful. I love you, Cari. Thank you for being mine.